understand what was why the inability of Jacob to leave. Why was there such incredible work necessary, protectia necessary for the viceroy of Egypt, Joseph, his son, to appeal to Pharaoh, and he didn't even appeal to Pharaoh directly. It was a whole political scheme. He interceded, according to the Medrash, he interceded with the women around the princess to convince the princess that it was the right thing to do to let Jacob be buried in Israel. And the princess was convinced of that, and then she interceded with Pharaoh. And then Pharaoh calls Joseph to him and says, okay, you can go. You can take your father to bury him, but then you have to come back. So why? What was behind this? And Joseph himself, I asked before, Joseph, when Carl was on, Joseph at the end, the last three verses in this portion, so Joseph asked his brothers, you should swear to me that when your children leave Egypt, after our sojourn here in Egypt, after many years, you will take my bones back to Israel. So why is it that Joseph couldn't have made an arrangement that he should also be buried? And if he was willing to wait for a few hundred years, 210 years, so why is it that he asked and the other brothers did not ask? The other brothers did not ask. So what is maybe there's a medrash that they also were taken, I don't know. But his body was buried in a place that no one knew. Moses had to raise his coffin that had his remains in it. He had to raise it from the Nile River, according to the Medrash, literally seconds before they left Egypt. Why did it have to be secreted away all those years? Okay, that's another question. Then we're going to try to take up what the blessings were that Jacob blessed all the tribes. Also, before we get to that, since we're on the subject of Avelus, we find that the Egyptians also went with the Jews to bury Jacob. They went, and they had an Avelus, a mourning period of 70 days, 70 days before they buried Jacob. And then there was the 7 days, the Torah mentions both, the 7 days that the Jews had in mourning their father, Jacob. So what is this 70 and 7? What is in general the number 7 that we have for mourning? Why is that number important? The Torah mentions it, that this is the 7, the Avelus period is 7. And we also find that the Shivas Yemei HaMishta, after someone gets married, it's 7 days of joy and happiness, and we are obligated to give joy to the groom and his bride. Why this number 7? What's the important number 7? Okay, and so now let's start with the answers. Okay, so the answer is simple. If you know, most of my classes that I give in Genesis, when discussing Genesis, center around a single prophecy, and that's the Bris Bein Habsarim, the covenant between the halves, that really foretells prophetically of our descent to Egypt and how long we would be there, and we would be enslaved there. So we have to follow this prophecy, and if we follow this prophecy, a lot of the questions we asked will be answered. What was the prophecy? That you will be enslaved for 400 years. That's what it says. But it's not 400 years, because 400 years really starts from the birth of Isaac. It's exactly 400 years from the birth of Isaac till the Jews leave Egypt. And why did it start from the birth of Isaac? Because, as I explained, and you must remember you must remember this, because I've explained it at least 100 times, that what Abraham asked of God was right before the covenant between the halves is, I don't just want a family of righteous people. I want them, because then it'll be a tiny family, and who says at one point there'll be no righteous people? So then the Jews will stop? No, I don't want that. I want that a nation should be created, and that nation will will continue forever. Of course, there'll be times that there'll be parts of the nation will be very, very bad. So, okay, some of them may fall off, but the nation will continue. That's what I want. I just don't want a tribe, a family of righteous people. I want a nation. So God says, for the nation, we have to work. It's going to be a process. The process was started, of course, with the birth of Isaac, because he was the first heir, to the Jewish nation. He was after Abraham. He was the heir to this heritage, and he was the start of the next generation until the nation was created. So it started from then. But then, for the masses of people, they had to go down to Egypt, and I explained what Egypt accomplished: the Korah Barzel, the iron crucible. But the bottom line is, they were there for 210 years. And this is part of the prophecy also, though that's not mentioned explicitly. But the 400 years started from the birth of Isaac, but 210 years of that prophecy was to be in Egypt. They could not leave once they got there. Could not leave. That's why Jacob said, I had to ask special permission. It was divinely ordained. They could not leave. So you're
saying I'm sorry to interrupt. You're saying,
don't be sorry. I'm very happy.
They couldn't leave even. This is going to sound sorry. I don't mean like for vacation, but basically, it's not. I could understand that you couldn't relocate. You couldn't say, you know what, we've had enough of Egypt. We're moving to Ethiopia.
Right. You said it very well. You're
saying we can't even go on vacation.
Right, they cannot leave Egypt. That was part of the prophecy. You will be in Egypt once you go down, Redu Shama. Go down there. That's a phrase in the Bible. So that the Redu and the numeric value of Redu, God tells Jacob right before they go down to Egypt, he tells him Redu, go down. In Redu, the numeric value is Reish, is 200, Dalet is 4, Vav is 6, that's 210 years. Go down to Egypt, you have to be there complete for 210 years. Period. So the question is, if I'm saying this, that they couldn't leave, by divine command, they could not leave for 210 years, so what is Jacob asking, of Joseph, his son? You understand what I'm saying? He's asking him to bury him in Egypt, in Israel, but that's not possible. So Joseph, and apparently, whether we realize it or not, it doesn't matter why the Egyptians didn't let them leave, because that was the divine prophecy. Whatever they had in their mind, the Jews have to be ultimately enslaved, or Joseph is too important, and if his brothers leave, then he'll maybe go after them and leave also, and we can't allow that, he's too important for the nation. It doesn't matter. The bottom line was, the Jews have to be there for 210 years, period. That's end of case. So now, what is Jacob asking if that's the story? How is he asking? So he says and I'm going to show it to you. He's saying, this is mine, by the way. This is what I'm saying is mine. So I'm saying it. So I didn't see this. This is, but I think it's very, very good. Very, very good. He's saying, I'm not part of the prophecy. The prophecy is on my children. That means you, my 12 sons, and your children. It's not on me. Because I am an Av. I am a patriarch. The patriarchs are not included in the decree. So I came down to Egypt because my coming down ensures that everyone else comes down. But I can be buried in the land of Israel. And what is it? He's saying, he's saying. Let me read from just the beginning. He says, "Please." This is verse 29, the second verse in the parsha. The time approached for Israel to die, so he called to his son for Joseph and said to him, "Please, if I have found a favor in your eyes, please place your hand under my thigh and do kindness and truth with me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, for I will lie down with my fathers, and you shall transport me out of Egypt and bury me in their tomb." In the tomb, the Maras HaMachpelah, the tomb of Machpelah, there lies the three patriarchs. I can be buried there. I'm not part of this prophecy of my children, and therefore you can bury me outside of Egypt. So please make sure that you do so. Now, I want to show you something. So you'll still say, I'm saying it. What's the big proof? Let me just show you something else. This, I don't know if you have a chumash in front of you, but after Jacob passes away, and the 40 days that he is embalmed, which if we get time to, we'll just mention the Orach Chaim, who explains that, although it's very, very difficult, but his explanation is the only explanation that really resonates with me. So it says, let me just show you this. And I'll also, let's start from chapter 49, verse number 33. Let me get that myself. When Jacob finished instructing his sons, meaning blessing his sons, let me just see that. He drew his feet onto the bed, he expired and was gathered to his people. Then Joseph fell upon his father's face, he wept over him and kissed him. Joseph ordered his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, so the physicians embalmed Israel, meaning Jacob. His 40-day term was completed, means that's how long it took for them to embalm him, for such is the term of the embalmed. And Egypt bewailed him for 70 days. When his bewailing period passed, Joseph spoke to Pharaoh's household, saying, "If you please." So now Joseph is speaking to Pharaoh. "If I have found favor in your eyes, speak now in the ears of Pharaoh." He didn't speak directly. He spoke to the household of Pharaoh, and the Medrash says it was the people, women around the princess, and the princess was going to, about the queen, and the queen was going to speak to Pharaoh. So speak now in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, "My father had adjured me, saying, behold, I am about to die in my grave, which I have hewn for myself in the land of Canaan. There you are to bury me. Now I will go up, if you please, and bury my father, then I will return." So Joseph is saying this, so let me bury my father in Israel, in the Maras HaMachpelah, and then I'll return to Egypt. And Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury your father as he adjourned you." So Pharaoh, he didn't have an audience with Jacob. Afterwards, he called Jacob after they convinced him, the women around the queen, and the queen convinced Pharaoh. So he said, "You can go up." So Joseph went, listen to this, so Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all of Pharaoh's servants, the elders of his household, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all of Jacob's household, and his brothers and his father's household. Only their young children, their flocks, and their cattle did they leave in the region of Goshen. But who does it mention first? Does it mention the sons of Jacob? Does it mention the Egyptians first? It mentions the Egyptians first. That's very strange.
But first it mentions Joseph, and I thought that we couldn't leave Egypt.
Right, so this is what I'm going to explain right now. I'm going to prove it from this. Listen, this is going to be very good. So, what does it say? It says that the Egyptians left first. That's very strange to me. That who are the main people that warn? Of course, the sons. So, but it mentions that the Egyptians went out. It's the elders of his house and all the elders of the land of Egypt. And then it mentions in all of Jacob's household, his brothers and his father's house, etc. And he brought up with him both chariots and horsemen, and the camp was very imposing. But the chariots and horsemen are Egyptians. They came to Goren Ha'atod, which is across the Jordan, and there they held a very great and imposing eulogy. And he ordained, meaning Joseph, a 7-day mourning period for his father. When the Canaanites, inhabitants of the land, saw the mourning in Goren Ha'atod, they said, "This is a grievous mourning for Egypt." Therefore, it was named Avel Mitzrayim, which is across the Jordan. Avel means a mourning, Mitzrayim of Mitzrayim, which is across the Jordan. Does anyone want to finish my thought here?
That by naming it that, they, in a sense, made it part of Egypt, and therefore he wasn't really leaving Egypt.
You should know, if you were here, I would smack you in love and hug you and kiss you. You absolutely correct. You hear this, Leonid?
Yes.
In other words, they were not allowed to leave Egypt. So it became Egypt. In other words, it was a procession from Egypt. They were surrounded by Egypt. In other words, that's the whole heter. The whole permission, the divine permission, came from the fact that it was Avel Mitzrayim. It was a mourning for Egypt. Egypt was doing it. They never left Egypt. They were surrounded completely by Egypt. And that was the heter. That was the permission that, a very good, Carl.
Portable Egypt?
A portable Egypt, right. I don't have to explain further, meaning this is, it's not scientific,
That, like an embassy, there's precedent for that, an embassy.
An embassy has the law of the government that it's representing?
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, it's...
So if you go to a consulate, you are technically, that's why people seek asylum in a consulate. You're in the ground.
Very good, very good, very good.
Basically, this was a traveling consulate.
Right, this was a traveling consulate, and the Torah gives evidence, tells us this is Pshat, because it says the Canaanites said what? Avel Mitzrayim. This is Egyptian. They didn't refer to the Jews. They said it's Avel Mitzrayim. It's Mitzrayim. It was exactly what you said. Good. I set it up. I'm not giving you full credit, but you did very well, Carl.
Shows I'm paying attention.
Yeah, more than that, it's very, very good. It's very, very good. Someone who says this word should know he's able to do more. You should know. Someone who says such a beautiful word should know that he's able to do more. Okay, so this is the pshat. This is the real meaning, that they weren't allowed because of the bris bein absarim. Once they went down, they weren't allowed. So Jacob went. Why was he able to go? He was able to go because he was an Av. And the Gzeira and of the Nevuah means the decree of the prophecy was only on after the Avos, after the patriarchs. But that's what Yaakov told Yosef, that I'm a patriarch. I can be buried. So now the question is, but you have to bury me. So the way that they worked it out was that it was Evel Gadol Mitzrayim. It was the Egyptians, a traveling. I like the way you're saying it. It was a traveling embassy, a traveling Mitzrayim. That's how they were able to do it. Oh, now who was the one who was the responsible for the going down to Egypt and that they should remain there? Who was the one who was given that divine responsibility?
Yosef, maybe?
Yes. I have very good people that I'm talking to. Excellently. It was Yosef. Yosef, therefore, had to remain with the Jews all the years they were in Egypt. And to make sure that he would not be taken out before then, however it would be, he was secreted, divinely secreted away, and actually going out of Egypt was tied to going out with him. The Medrash says that explicitly. It had to be together. So Moses, you'll see in a few portions from now, Moses was given the directive he was the one who knew this. He was the one who had to take the Jews out, and he knew to take the Jews out, he had to find Yosef. So he was looking all over at literally the few seconds to the 12th hour, and finally he miraculously was able to raise the coffin from the Nile. He also didn't know where the coffin was, but miraculously he was able to raise Yosef's remains from the Nile. They went up by himself. They went up miraculously by itself. The coffin was raised, and then he was able to take the coffin out of Egypt together with the Jews. It was one and the same. Joseph had to remain in Egypt because he was the one who had responsibility that the Jews should come down to Egypt, and then should go up. And the Joseph at the end, the last few verses in the Sedra, it says, Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will surely remember you and bring you up of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph adjured the children of Israel, saying, when God will indeed remember you, then you must bring my bones up of here. So, in other words, that when it has to come together, that the going out of Egypt by the Jews had to go also with the Atzmos Yosef, with the bones of Joseph, and that's Joseph died at the age of 110 years. They embalmed him, and he was placed in a coffin in Egypt, and there he remained till the Jews left Egypt. Okay, so this idea, I think we got. I wanted to say, what was the difference between the Egyptians had 70 days of mourning for Jacob, but Joseph said we have 7 days. The Jews have 7 days. What is this idea of 7 days and the 7 days of after a chasana? It's 7 days of Mishta, 7 days of.
But where does it say about 70 days for the Egyptians?
No, that is in the pasuk. It's here is the verse. I will get it for you.
Before the embalmment?
No, after the embalmment. After the embalmment took. This is chapter 50, verse 3. Chapter 50, verse 3. His 40-day term was completed. That's the embalmment. And then in 4 it says, when his bewailed, and the Egyptian bewailed him for 70 days, and then right. Okay, I got it. It was 7 days for the Jews. So we have what is 7 days? What is 7 days? So
a week.
A week, yes, exactly.
Time of
So
vacation.
what is seven? What is this period of a week for? Why this specific span? I have a vote here.
That was creation.
Oh, I'm telling you. Now I would give you a real slap because out of love and out of
You got to stop paying such attention. It's getting painful.
Someone who could say this, Carl, you should be doing more. I have to give it to you a little bit because I love you. It only comes from love. I want to tell you that. If you could say this, of course, it's creation. It's the 7 days. What happens when in our way of thinking, in the Jewish way of thinking, when you lose, example, of course it's 7 relatives, but when you lose a parent, it's a different world for you. It's a different world. A new world is created. First you were a child, and it doesn't matter whether you're 70 years old when you lose a parent. You're still a child. Now you're no longer a child. You're no longer a child. That means a new universe has been created. You're in a different universe from now on. So in certain respects, so that's the 7 days. That's symbolic. 7 days creation. It's a new universe for you. The same thing when getting married. Someone who understands what marriage is, Jewish marriage, and the holiness of Jewish marriage, and that you now have a chance to create new worlds, and that you were incomplete before, and now you're becoming hopefully somewhat more complete. That means it's a new world for you. That's the 7 days. It's symbolic of creation. That's the 7 days. You're a new person. It's not that you're a new person. It's you have affected a new beginning. So that's the 7 days. I think it's simple. I heard my Rebbe try to work on it. He didn't come up with what the 7 was. He didn't come up with it. To me, this resonates. It really resonates. It means that you're a new being. There's a new creation. God has created you again. And it is creation is 7. So that's the 7 days. Now let's speak about the brachos, which everyone thinks is the highlight of
What about 70? What about 70?
No, 70 is very The Egyptians, the whole idea, I don't know exactly the number 70, but the whole idea, we are blessed. Why are we blessed? Because as someone who was spending, Friday night, he lived in the neighborhood, he didn't have to travel, so he's spending Friday night in my house. When I walked him home, not religious. So I walked him home. So he said, incidentally, today he is religious, but when then he wasn't. So he said, Rabbi, you're very lucky. So I said, why am I so lucky? So he said, because when I don't know how to do something or what to do, what am I supposed to do? Watch Oprah Winfrey? And get her, and the truth is, she would, I saw a documentary she made about Hasidim, a very, very, very talented lady, incredibly talented lady. So, but that's where I'm supposed to get my life view from, how to think about things. So, you have the Torah. When you look at the Torah, you understand what God's message to us is about how to lead your life. So we have HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that you have to have 7 days of Avelis. Those 7 days are prescribed, and there are laws with regard to the 7 days, and they have to be real, and they have to be right after they start right after the burial. and it's to tell us, I want you to feel the loss. Feel it for 7 days. And then thereafter, there's diminishing Avelus. You must diminish your mourning. You cannot be in that state, heavy state of mourning. And that's for 30 days, which means 23 days after the end of Shiva, for 23 days more, there has to be a more diminished level of Avelus. And then for parents, there's for another 11 months, there is a even more diminished level of Avelus, but still a somewhat level of Avelus. And then you're finished, and you should not be misavel more. You should not have more mourning. The Egyptians, they had 70 days of heavy Avelus, which was not the way we do it. The Torah tells us, I'm going to give you the perfect, the generally, I mean, doesn't apply to every single, but for general, for all, for general, in general terms, this is how a Jew should live his life. And then you will, of course you've suffered a loss, and you have to feel the loss, because feeling the loss is not only it's a proper honor for the deceased, but it's also a way of you dealing with this pain of loss. But the proper thing is to feel it in as time is extended, to feel it less and less, and I want you to feel less and less, and then after 12 months, that's it. So
10 minutes ring.
10 minutes ring. Okay, so good. So we'll stop in 2 minutes. So this is the contrast. The Torah, once it's talking about Avelus, it gives us a contrast between the Goyim and the Yidden. The Goyim, they have this 70 days. The Torah is telling us this is overdoing it. Joseph said 7 days. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. 7 days. It wasn't just that he was saying it. This was divinely inspired. It's 7 days. And even though we paskin that biblically there's only 1 day of nihug avelus, means the restrictions of mourning are only biblically for 1 day, but certainly the person is called an ovel, he's called a mourner all 7 days. In other words, 7 days is, and that's based on the Torah. The restrictions which are rabbinic, that is for all 7 days, but the biblical name that he's a novel, a mourner, is all 7 days. My Rebbe brought a proof to that even though we say that a novel is avelus d'oraisa, biblical avelus is 1 day. So Maimonides paskins that you can't bring a korban, you can't bring a sacrifice for 7 days because he's not besimcha, he's not in happiness. So he's not allowed to bring a korban. That's a biblical law. So what do you mean? He's not allowed to bring a korban for 7 days. But we paskin that the law, the halachic law is only for 1 day. Is he no? So Mary said, of course not. He's a novel for 7 days, a mourner for 7 days. But the restrictions are only for 1 day. But in shame, in chefs, in gavra, the person is a mourner for 7 days biblically, but it doesn't have the restriction except for 1 day. It's very good. The Rambam is very, very good. But the point is that the Torah tells us what they did it on their own. Joseph was doing it divinely inspired for 7 days. The Egyptians did 70 on their own. They were making up their own, of course, they're making up their own laws of 70. So this is shtuyot. We have, that means ridiculous, stupidities. This is, that's why people have grief. Some people, they have no end to the grief because they don't follow halacha. The beauty of Avelus is incredible because you can deal with the loss, and then you could. It's very meaningful. The pain is there, the morning is there, and then you can get over it. But I've met people. I've met Jews. They don't know anything about halacha. They didn't have the 7 days, and they can never get over it. I've met such people. They spend the rest of their lives. They write books. They write articles.
Can the brachas in 5 minutes?
Brachas in 5 minutes. Yes, I'm going to do brachas. The brachas are as follows. The brachas make no sense. Because if you look at most of the brachas, it's not brachos. It's not brachos, Leonard. These brachas are not. It's just giving you things that will happen in the future. If you look at the Rashi, you'll see that it's things that will happen in the future. That Judah will become the king. Samson will come from this shevet. Samson, the judge of Israel, he'll come from this shevet, this tribe. Other people in history will come from the other tribes. It's not really a blessing. A blessing is what Yitzchak, Isaac gave Jacob, that he should have. You should have material blessings, etc., etc. And also the Birchas Avram, you should inherit the land. But this is not blessing, just telling prophecy. So the answer is as follows. You hear the question? And also, someone from the particular the particular prophecy is so only Yisachar is going to be working in Torah all the time. Only Zevulun will bring in be wealthy and support Yisachar. I mean, it's first of all, the main tribe of learning is Levi, as the Rambam explains. So what's happening here? So the answer is, as Rashi says, but I'm going to say amplify what Rashi says. The blessings of all the Shvatim. So at the end of the blessings, it says as follows, in verse 28. All these are the tribes of Israel, 12, and this is what their father spoke to them, and he blessed them. He blessed each according to his appropriate blessing. So in Hebrew, the words in the Torah are as follows. 28. V'zos asher diber lehem aviem vayivorich osam ish asher kibirchaso beirach osam. It does not it's plural and singular mixed up. It says vayivorich osam, he blessed them, plural. Okay, it means he blessed all 12. Ish asher kibirchaso, each person, each individual, like his bracha, singular, beirach osam, he blessed them. That's incorrect. It should be, he blessed him. Ish, according to the blessing that was appropriate for him, he blessed him. Each tribe, he should be blessed in the singular, he should bless them according to his blessing. Why does it say the plural? So Rashi here says on this phrase, Asher kibirchaso, the blessing that is in the future supposed to happen, he blessed each one, and I'm going to amplify that. Beirach osam, it should have said, Rashi asks the question we just asked, it should have said, not Beirach osam, them, plural, Beirach oso, singular. Each person, each individual, he blessed according to his blessing. Why does it say Beirach osam blessed them? Lefi shenasan lihuda gvuras ariv ulevinyamin chatifaso shel ze'ev ulnaftali kaloso shel ayolo. It may be that each of the sons are the only ones who have that blessing. Yochol shlo kolon yachad kulam. Perhaps all of Israel doesn't have the blessings altogether. Each one has his own blessing. That's why he says Barach Osam. He listed the talents and the blessings that each one was going to inherit, and then he blessed them all. They should all have all of them. Of course, each person has his main point, but each Jew has all of these blessings. That's very, very important to remember, that each Jew is blessed with all these blessings that were highlighted for each of the Shvatim, each individual Shvatim. All the Jews were blessed together. So what does this mean? And we're already, we have 3 minutes to the hour, so I'm going to finish in 60 seconds period. So it says, this was the beginning. What was taking place here is the nation was being created in Egypt. So he said that when you're finished with Mitzrayim, all of the Jewish nation will have in its DNA, spiritual DNA, all these blessings. It doesn't mean that someone, if you have like physical DNA, so someone is stronger, stronger. But it's in each person's DNA, each Jew's DNA, to have all these blessings. That's why a Torah scholar can arise from any shevet. A prophet can arise from any shevet. A great judge can arise from any shevet, any of the tribes. So that's the meaning. In other words, he was telling them that you have this. You have, just like each of us patriarchs gave certain additions to the DNA of the future nation, you have each your DNA that you're going to add, spiritual DNA, and you should know that by the time you leave Egypt, all of the Jews will have all of this sum of DNA and spiritual DNA. And I will stop here, and I thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Appreciate it.
Okay, so this is it. Okay,
Have a good job.
you have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos, and thank you for coming on, and we definitely will speak.
Talk to you next time. Thank you. I mean it so long.
Be well. All of you, be well. Bye-bye. Kol tov. Bye-bye.